What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist, and today I'm going to be doing a shark deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is a really awesome deck that can summon out all sorts of powerful Xyz monsters like our number 4, which with some of the tech cards in this deck can totally lock down your opponent's field. I'm really excited to show you guys all those tech cards because it makes it a really powerful deck and it is super fun to play with. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come bar notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards like getting your name searched for a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month you're a patron along with test hands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Buzzsaw Shark. This card is a great starter for the deck and has the ability that you can target a water monster that you control, which can be itself, to special summon from your deck in defense position one fish monster with the same level as that monster but with a different name. And if you do, it can't activate its effects this turn, and you cannot special summon monsters from your X deck for the rest of the turn except Xyz monsters, and you can only use the effect of Buzzsaw Shark once per turn. It has a really interesting effect that doesn't come up in this deck as much as it used to, but if this card is going to be used as an Xyz material of a water monster, it can be treated as a level 3 or a level 5 monster. We're only ever really summoning level or rank 4s in this deck, but it does come up every so often if you want to include some tech cards in this deck as well. We then play 2 copies of Lantern Shark. Lantern Shark is a card that I've bumped up to 2 from the previous build, and it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summoned, that you can activate this effect to special summon a level 3, 4, or 5 water monster from your hand in defense position except another copy of itself, and also you can special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest turn except Xyz monsters, which is not that big of a deal because we only play 1 card in the entire extra deck that's not an Xyz monster. We then play 3 copies of Xyz Remore. I love Xyz Remore in this deck because it has the ability that you can special summon this card from your hand by detaching 2 materials from a monster that you control. And when you do, you can target those 2 level 4, you can target 2 level 4 fish monsters in the graveyard and special summon those targets to your side of the field in defense position, but negate their effects, and they cannot attack or change their battle position, and they cannot be used for Xyz materials except for the Xyz summon of an Xyz monster that is a water monster, which is going to be a lot of the times what we're going to be summoning in this deck anyways, so this card is an extremely powerful extender for the deck. We then play 3 copies of Silent Angler. Silent Angler can special summon itself from your hand, but needs to be the last card that you special summon from your hand because it has the ability that if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, but you can't special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn, but you can special summon as many as you want before you summon this card. We then play 3 copies of Silent Sea Nettles. This card is a really good card for an extending plays because if you control a water monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, and you cannot special summon monsters except water monsters the turn you activate this effect. And you can manage this card from the graveyard to target 3 water monsters in the graveyard, up to 3 water monsters in the graveyard, and shuffle them into the deck, which is a great effect to get all of our cards back in the deck that we want to use over again. We then play 3 copies of the Tinny Water Spirit. This card comes in handy because you can special summon this card from your hand if you don't control a monster or if you don't control an effect monster, which is super helpful for this deck to give you a free special summon of a level 4. We then play 3 copies of Batuneful Princess to round out the monsters, and this card has a unique ability that when this card is normal or special summon, you can banish this card to special summon a level 4 or lower fish monster from your deck, which is usually going to be your copy of Buzzsaw Shark to get you an additional monster on the field. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of Double or Nothing. Double or Nothing comes in very handy in this deck because it has the ability with your Utopia Double to OTK your opponent. Because basically what you do is you have any 2 level 4 monsters on your side of the field, Xyz summon into Utopia Double, detach a material, search Double or Nothing, special summon a Utopia from the extra deck, and then once you do that, the Utopia comes out at 5,000 attack. You can then swing at the opponent, detach a material, negate the attack, and then drop Double or Nothing to be able to go in for 10,000 attack points. And if your opponent controls a monster that has 2,000 or less attack points, you're going to win the duel if they have 8,000 because it will do right at 8,000 damage. The only downside is Utopia Double makes it so the Utopia can't attack directly, but with this card, you can still OTK. We then play a single copy of Instant Fusion along with 2 copies of Ready Fusion. This could be 3 copies of Ready Infinity Fusion, it doesn't super matter. You're only going to activate it once per duel anyways, because we only play a single copy of Rare Fish in the extra deck. So this card comes up every so often in the deck, but it's basically here to give us an additional summon of a water monster that's a level 4 from the extra deck. We then play 2 copies of Pot of Desires. Pot of Desires is here because it has the ability that you get to banish the top 10 of your deck and then draw 2, which in this deck you're not super concerned about what you banish except for your copy of Double or Nothing, which you might not even need in a duel, but it does come up every so often where your opponent will put something on the field that you just need a 10,000 attack point monster to go through. But if you banish it, it's not the end of the world. This card is a great card in the deck as a 2-of to be able to draw additional cards. We then play 2 copies of Fury of Kyrushin. I'm playing a little bit more of a stun build in this build because it lets you add Torrential Tribute from your deck to your hand, and if you control a water monster and it's going to be destroyed by a card effect, then you can banish this card from the graveyard to protect all the water monsters on your side of the field, which is a great effect to protect your water monsters from Torrential Tribute. We then play 3 copies of White Mirror. White Mirror is a great 3-of. I love this card, and it's a card that I really feel like does need to be in 3 in this deck because it lets you target any level 4 lower fish monster in the grave, special summon it, and then you can add a monster from your deck to your hand with the same name as that monster that you special summon, which is a great effect to be able to have a triple monster reborn along with a searcher in this deck. I always recommend this card as a 3-of in this build. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence is here to be able to use as a hand trap, just to stop the opponent from going in with all their monster effects. This card comes in very handy to be able to just drop against the opponent and negate a monster effect. We then play 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. This card is here because we can search it off our Fury of Kyrushin, and also it's a board wipe, and along with our copies of Kyrushin can actually just be a one-sided board wipe, which comes in very handy for us to be able to just go in for game with cards like number 4, our Totally Awesomes, and even Bahamut Sharks. This card is a great 3-of in this build. And then we play 3 copies of Gozen Match. Gozen Match is an insanely powerful card, and I cannot recommend this card enough as a 3-of in this build because any deck that can play number 4 needs to play this card because it basically zombie world Rivalry of Warlords your opponent, because the copy of number 4 will actually make it so every monster on the field becomes water, and this card will only let each player control 1 attribute of a monster. So if your opponent's not playing water, they're not summoning past 1 monster because they will control a water monster because of our number 4, and then they won't be able to summon, which is a great thing for us, especially with number 4 being able to pop cards on the field, which is just a great effect to be able to pop a monster once per turn as a quick effect. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing 2 copies of number 4. Number 4 is a great card. In playtesting, I definitely recommend the second copy of this card because it has the ability that all face-up monsters on the field become water, and then once per turn during the main phase quick effect, you can destroy a water monster opponent controls, which all monsters are becoming water with this card's effect, so it's automatically going to be able to pop a monster that they control. And if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the monster's attack it had on the field. And if this card, XE7 card, is destroyed, then you can special summon 2 stealth spawns from your extra deck, up to the number of materials this card had, and then you can attach up to 1 water monster to the graveyard to each of those monsters that you special summon. So if your opponent does out this card by destroying it, you will get to special summon out to your side of the field 2 copies, which we play 2 copies of our stealth spawn. In playtesting, it doesn't come up all that much to be able to special summon them out to the field because usually you're just going to deal with the opponent with the number 4 and Bahamut Sharks, but there is some instances that it will come up that you'll special summon these out to your side of the field. And they help you go into all sorts of different cards. And they're 2 really good 1900 beat sticks that have the ability that once per turn, during the main phase quick effect, you can destroy a water monster your opponent controls. And if this card is special summoned by the effect of a number XZ monster, it's destroyed, you can special summon out a Stealth Kraken monster from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had, and then attach a water monster from your graveyard to each of the monsters special by this material, which is a really good effect to be able to just use this card to bring back your number 4 with this card's effect. We then play 2 copies of Bahamut Shark. You really only need 2 copies of Bahamut Shark because you're only going to go into it twice. And basically this card has the ability to detach a material and then special summon out a Totally Awesome. It does have the ability to special summon any rank 3 or lower water monster, but let's be honest, Totally Awesome is the best one. So you're always going to be summoning out your copies of your Totally Awesome off this effect, which is a negate. It's super helpful to be able to summon the toads because they have the ability that once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell trap or monster effect, you can send an aqua monster from your hand or face from your field to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. Then you can set it to your field, which is a pretty good effect to be able to just basically take any generic card that your opponent activates that you might need. We then play a single copy of Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller's here because it can shut down graveyards and make our water monsters go up by 500 attack. 1 copy of Utopia Double because we can summon this, search double or nothing, then summon a copy of Utopia on top of it that comes out at 5,000, and then attack the opponent, detach a material from the Utopia to negate the attack, drop a double or nothing, and go in for 10,000 attack points to OTK. I love this combo in this deck, and it's a card that I wish I would have played in the last build, but it's a really awesome card in this deck to be able to OTK with our copies of Utopia and Utopia Double, and it's just such a powerful combo. We then play a single copy of F-Zero Utopic Future because you can use the Utopic Future to go into our copy of Utopic Draco Future, which is a great card and super easy to summon in the deck. The only thing that you got to keep in mind is all of these monsters are light monsters, so cards like your copies of your Silent Sea Nettles will actually lock you into water monsters, so you'll only be able to summon the top row of cards instead of the bottom row. We then play a single copy of Double A Zeus because it can board wipe the field, so this card comes in very handy in this deck, and then a single copy of Rare Fish for our one of instant fusion ready fusion target to be able to special summon to our side of the field off of those cards as an extender. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to play with. I highly recommend that if you guys have not played with Shark before, you definitely should. This deck is super fun. I love the way that it plays, being able to summon out our copies of number 4 with our Shark monsters, and even Bahamut Shark into a double Totally Awesome. Definitely be on the lookout because there will be test hands of this deck on the channel, and definitely check those out because they are absolutely insane. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell on there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.